Welcome to Easy English Story, where real-life stories come alive in simple English. From legends to icons, every story here is full of inspiration, motivation, and life lessons. Perfect for learning English the easy way. Let's dive into today's journey. Life story of Sir Isaac Newton, the man who redefined the universe. Chapter 1. The Stormy Arrival 1642. On a cold winter night on December 25th, 1642, in the small village of Woolsthorpe by Colsterworth, Lincolnshire, England, a fragile child came into the world. Born prematurely, Isaac Newton was so tiny that his mother feared he wouldn't survive. He could have fit into a quart mug, she later said. But the child, destined to transform the world's understanding of nature, defied the odds. Isaac's father, also named Isaac Newton, had died 3 months before his birth. His mother, Hannah Ayscough Newton, was left to raise him alone. When Isaac was just 3 years old, Hannah remarried and moved away, leaving him in the care of his maternal grandmother. This early abandonment planted in Newton a sense of emotional isolation that lingered throughout his life. Even as a child, Isaac was different, quiet, curious, and fascinated by the natural world. He would spend hours observing the movement of windmills or crafting mechanical toys. His childhood was filled with thoughts rather than laughter, solitude rather than play. Chapter 2. Schooling and a Shift in Destiny. Newton attended the King's School in Grantham, where he boarded with an apothecary. There he developed a fascination with chemicals and machines. He was not initially a star student, more interested in building models and sketching than memorizing texts. An incident changed everything. After being bullied and physically beaten by a fellow student, Newton made a vow he would surpass all his classmates academically. This newfound determination fueled his study habits, and soon he rose to the top of his class. In 1661, at age 18, Newton enrolled at Trinity College, Cambridge. There he studied logic, rhetoric, and classical literature. But his real passion was for mathematics and natural philosophy, the early form of science. He absorbed the works of Descartes, Galileo, and Kepler, but didn't merely accept them. Newton questioned everything. Chapter 3. The Miraculous Years. 1665 to 1667. In 1665, the Great Plague forced Cambridge to close. Newton returned to Woolsthorpe for what would become the most productive period of his life. Alone with his thoughts and nature, he experienced his own personal revolution. Within these 2 years, Newton developed calculus, he called it fluxions, the laws of motion, and the law of universal gravitation, the falling apple. Legend has it that Newton saw an apple fall from a tree in his garden and wondered, why does the apple fall straight down? This simple question led him to a profound insight. The force that pulls the apple to the ground is the same force that keeps the moon orbiting Earth, the force of gravity. This realization changed everything. Newton understood that the universe was not a chaotic place, but one governed by universal laws consistent Mathematical and Elegant. Chapter 4, Light and Optics. During this same period, Newton turned his attention to light. Using a glass prism, he discovered that white light is composed of a spectrum of colors. This went against centuries of belief that white light was pure and colored light was an impurity. He also constructed the first reflecting telescope, which used mirrors instead of lenses. This allowed for a clearer and more compact design, solving problems like chromatic aberration that plagued traditional refracting telescopes. Newton's work in optics earned him election to the Royal Society in 1672, but his presentation there sparked controversy. Chapter 5, A Man of Conflict. Newton was not just brilliant, he was also sensitive to criticism, paranoid and often vindictive. He became embroiled in several bitter disputes. The Hooke feud. One of Newton's early critics was Robert Hooke, an accomplished scientist and member of the Royal Society. Hooke claimed that Newton had taken some of his ideas, especially about light and gravity. Newton, furious, withdrew from public scientific debate for years. Their feud grew so bitter that Newton later ensured. Hooke's name was erased from many records after Hooke's death. The Calculus War. Around the same time, Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, a German mathematician, also developed calculus. A furious dispute erupted over who had invented it first. While both had developed the method independently, Newton's supporters accused Leibniz of plagiarism. The feud consumed Newton for decades. Though modern historians credit both men, Newton's influence in England ensured that Leibniz's reputation suffered for years. Chapter 6, The Principia Mathematica 1687. Despite his conflicts, Newton pressed on. Encouraged by astronomer Edmund Halley, Newton wrote his most famous work, Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, or simply Principia, published in 1687. This monumental book laid out 3 laws of motion and the law of universal gravitation. Newton's laws explained how objects move both on Earth and in space. He showed that the same forces that caused an apple to fall also governed the orbits of planets. It was the first time someone unified the physics of Earth with the heavens. The Principia changed everything. It became the foundation of classical physics for the next 2 centuries and laid the groundwork for modern engineering, astronomy, and space science. Chapter 7, The Royal Years in Public Service. By the late 1680s, Newton was a scientific celebrity. In 1689, he was elected Member of Parliament, though he rarely spoke except once, to ask someone to close a window. In 1696, he was appointed Warden of the Royal Mint, and later Master of the Mint. Newton took the job seriously. He led a major effort to reform England's currency and personally pursued counterfeiters, even disguising himself to collect evidence. He was knighted by Queen Anne in 1705, becoming Sir Isaac Newton. In 1703, he was elected President of the Royal Society, a position he held until his death. Chapter 8, Religion, Alchemy, and Mysticism. Though known for science, Newton was deeply interested in theology and alchemy. He wrote more about biblical prophecy and religious texts than about physics. He studied ancient languages and tried to decode hidden messages in the Bible. He also conducted secret experiments in alchemy, hoping to discover the philosopher's stone and turn base metals into gold. Though we now know alchemy is not scientific, Newton saw no contradiction between science and mysticism. He believed the universe was designed by a divine creator, and understanding nature was a way to understand God. Chapter 9. Final Years and Death. Newton never married and had no children. In his later years he became reclusive, sometimes combative, but always revered. He died peacefully on March 20th, 1727, at the age of 84 in London. His body was buried in Westminster Abbey. Among kings and poets, a rare honor for a scientist. Thousands came to mourn the man who had illuminated the world. Chapter 10. Legacy of a Genius. Sir Isaac Newton left behind a legacy that changed not only science, but the way humanity understood its place in the cosmos. His key contributions, laws of motion, still taught in every physics class, law of universal gravitation, explained orbits, tides, and planetary motion, calculus, became the foundation for modern engineering, economics, and physics. Optics explained the nature of light and color. Reflecting telescope revolutionized astronomy. Chapter 11. Why Newton Still Matters. Even today, nearly 400 years after his birth, Newton's laws continue to guide rocket launches and space missions, bridge construction, machinery and robotics, satellite orbits and GPS systems. His genius laid the groundwork for modern science, but his life also showed that great ideas come not just from brilliance, but from curiosity, patience, and relentless pursuit of truth. Famous quotes by Isaac Newton. If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. What we know is a drop, what we don't know is an ocean. To every action there is always opposed an equal reaction. Gravity explains the motions of the planets, but it cannot explain who sets the planets in motion. Quick facts. Category. Details. Full name. Sir Isaac Newton. Birth date. December 25th, 1642. Birthplace. Woolsthorpe, Lincolnshire, England. Died March 20th, 1727. Major work. Principia Mathematica. Fields. Physics, mathematics, astronomy, theology. Notable roles. President of Royal Society, Master of the Mint. Honors. Knighted in 1705. Buried in Westminster Abbey. Final words. Isaac Newton was not just a scientist. He was a philosopher, an alchemist, a theologian, and a visionary. He didn't merely discover laws, he revealed a universe, ruled by logic and mathematics, not mystery or magic. He taught humanity that with observation, reason, and persistence the universe could be understood.